Hi, this is Felicia Dortch with Relationship Entertainment TV, bringing you the news you can use and the ish you don't want to miss. Thank you for joining me today. You can find me here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'll be bringing you the news that's happening around us, but also with a little twist. I'm going to give you the positive out of that because I believe that there's always light at the end of the tunnel and there's always room for positivity. So what I would like to start with talking about is our COVID numbers. And I know everyone is a little bit tired of COVID, ready for COVID to go away so we can start enjoying family and, being with friends, having parties. I definitely miss my friends, so I feel you. And staying in the house with children, yeah, that's a no-go. But I want to start off by saying that right now in the US, we have 4.78 million confirmed cases. Now, remember I said confirmed because there are people that still have not been tested. And in the United States, we have 158,000 counted deaths, or at least what our conspiracy theorists like to say, oh, I went in, broke an arm, died, and the diagnosis was COVID. Just a little something funny for you there. Anyhow, I would like to say the positives about this, and I know you're thinking, Felicia, what on earth could be positive about COVID? You can't go to work, or if you are going to work, you leave out like in a hazmat suit. I know everyone is sick and tired of wearing a mask. Funny thing happened to me the other day. I got out of the car, got everything in my hand, got halfway to the store and realized I didn't have a mask on. So yes, had to turn around, go back and get the mask. But it's for my own protection. Just a little tidbit about myself. I'm a registered nurse by trade, so I'm very well aware of wearing a mask all day long due to being an operating room nurse. So I'm kind of over the whole mask thing. Did it for 17 years. Didn't exactly think I was going to have to wear it while shopping for groceries. So moving right along, I'm going to also talk to you about the presidential election. Did you know, according to the New York Times, that President Trump was trying to postpone the election due to, you guessed it, COVID. So he's saying that because we're in a pandemic, that we really shouldn't be focusing on having an election, which of course his goal is to get another 4 years in office. I'm pretty sure you agree with me in saying that we really don't need that to happen. And along with COVID, along with the possible election being postponed, we have issues that is affecting the Black community, voter suppression. So I'm going to outline a few of those examples so you can understand exactly what I mean about voter suppression and how we can do something about it. Okay, number one, voter ID laws. Did you know that 36 states have identification requirements at the polls? 7 of those states have strict photo ID laws, which voters must present one of the limited set of forms of government issued photo ID. Well, that's a small problem because did you know over 21 million U.S. citizens don't have a government-issued photo ID? You're saying, how on earth is that possible? Well, it's possible because you have situations where they may live in a rural area and can't get to the place to get identification, or they get there and may not have the numerous amounts of requirements that's needed to get an ID. I actually took my 13-year-old twins to get an ID, just to have an ID, and I gave them everything except for a pint of blood for my children to get an ID. I sent in bills, I took the lease showing that I lived there, my driver's license. Well, the address on my driver's license didn't match the lease, so they made me go back and get a statement notarized, saying that I actually lived on the property. That's just doing too much for an identification for a 13-year-old. So mind you, I did go back, get the required documents and took them back, got the ID. But let's talk about someone that may not want to do all those things. What if they finally got a ride there, thought they had the documents, and then being turned away by something simple as an address being different on an ID, a birth certificate, or different on a bill, or not matching the lease of the home that they're living in. So these are little tricks that'll get a person to turn away and walk away and not even try it. Because I nearly did it, but my kids wanted an ID, so we went back. The second one is voter registration restrictions, such as requiring documents to prove citizenship. So then you have all these documents and you take them in, and then they tell you that that's not acceptable. I have another example. I was born and raised in the United States. All my children were born and raised in the United States. Well, I went and got a copy of my oldest daughter's birth certificate, and it wasn't the hospital issued certificate. It wasn't the original. It was a copy. I was told that I needed to go get a second form proving that she was my daughter. Okay, what else do you need other than a birth certificate? So again, those one of those situations where I could have just walked away. I could have said, forget it, not gonna do all this, but I had to take my daughter to get her driver's license, so I had to have a birth certificate. So number 3, voter purges. This is removing voters due to inaccurate data or without adequate notice to the voters. A single purge can stop hundreds of thousands of people from voting. So here's the thing, you get ready to go get your voter registration done and realize that they have purged you from the entire list. You're not listed, you're not registered. It's like you don't even exist, even though you have a home in that community. So that's another one of those things where you finally get the person out of the home. I know, for an example, if I took my mother down to vote and they removed her entirely from the list, she's elderly. She's not going to want to go back and forth. And several people are not going to want to go back and forth. So what happens is they just don't go back at all. So number 3, felony disenfranchisement. So different states have different laws. Some ban only during incarceration. Some of them ban you during probation or parole. Then you have the felonies. Once you have a felony record, you can't vote at all. So that takes a huge population out of the opportunity to be able to vote. So that we definitely have to do something about that. So the last one, gerrymandering. Every 10 years, states redraw district lines based on population data gathered in the census. So often states use redistricting as a political tool to manipulate the outcome of the election. So usually you're in one district, okay? For the last 4 years, you've been in the same district. You get ready to go vote again and find out that they have cut your entire street out of that district by rezoning the area. And of course, no one notified you. Or the greatest thing I've ever heard was, it was in the mail, you were notified, you should have known. So those are several ways that voters can be suppressed and not given the right to vote. But like I promised you, I would give you a positive to this negative. One great thing that I read was about Michael Jordan and the Jordan brand are donating $2.5 million towards fighting Black voter suppression as a part of a 10-year, $100 million effort that Jordan and Jordan brand announced on June 5th. This is to impact the fight against systemic racism. The donations are going to go to the NAACP, Legal Defense, and the Educational Fund, and the formerly incarcerated Convicted People and Families Movement. 500,000 of that will go to Black Voters Matter. This is to support and to reform the practices that have denied us thus far. And this will cause a real change in the Black community. So you see, with this story, we do have a lot that's going on. You know, we're faced with COVID. We're faced with not being able to be around everyone. We're faced with not being able to go and vote the way we need to vote. And now we have a president that's trying to stop us from having the voting process altogether, which will definitely ensure him another 4 years in office. So you have to be able to look at this with a different light. You have to look at the fact that with COVID, we are now able to spend more time with family. A lot of us are learning new things. We're starting businesses. We're learning hobbies or getting new hobbies, learning new trades. And also with the election, we have several people that this will be their first time even being able to vote. So the last thing we need is for them to not be able to get there, or to get there and find out that they have been rezoned, or the polling places have been moved, or they don't have the correct ID. With this time that we have, we can definitely be prepared. So make sure that you are registered to vote. And if you're not, do you have the right identification? And what do you need to make sure you have the right identification? And then also, although we can't really group together, we can do small groups and start helping people get registered, helping make sure that people are registered to vote or have the right identification that they need. Identify for those elderly people. Let them know exactly where to go vote. Try to find out as early as you can if anything has changed since the last time they voted. Check to make sure that they're even on the list to be able to vote. Stand with us as we drive home and try to get this to happen for us in our Black community. We have to band together. We can do our part. You don't have to be a millionaire to be able to do your part with the voting process. You don't have to be a millionaire to ensure that people around you are wearing masks so we can try to flatten the curve. These are all things that if we just change our emotional aspect of what's going on, we can actually help each other. We can actually make it through this time that we're having right now in our lives. We have to make sure that we call and reach out to people that maybe they're telling you, oh, my vote doesn't matter. Take the time to educate them. Take the time to help them understand how important it means for them to vote. And as well as with COVID. Make sure you talk about it. Talk about the symptoms. Talk about what's happening to other people. If you have to show them statistics, show them statistics. But encourage them when they call you and want you to go out for the party, don't go to the party. Don't go to the barbecue. Wear your mask when you're out in public. Washing your hands. Make sure you're staying safe. So it's easy to turn all this negative, to look at it negative and say, well, I'm sick of wearing a mask. I can't go anywhere. I can't go to work, or my income is failing. This is an opportunity. This is where millionaires are born. You're sitting there and you think about that idea that you had last year, that if you just had enough time to write it out and be able to make it that dream a reality. Well, now is your time. This is the best time that we have. We will never get this opportunity again. This is the opportunity to build that invention, to write out that business plan. And if you're not sure how to write it out, learn to write it out. Take this time wisely. Don't mope and groan about it. Try to figure out a way that you can use it to the best of your advantage. So I'm just going to leave you with a few things that you're going to have to do. Stay masked up for safety. Stay quarantined. Stay safe. When it's time to vote, because I am sure we're going to get that opportunity, make sure that you are registered to vote. Make sure you get out and vote. And if you know there are some people that don't have transportation, can you just make sure you get out and take them? Be that person to say, hey, I can't have a group of people in my car, but I can pick up a few of you at a time. Get them to that polling place. Make sure that they're able to vote, because your vote matters. These are the things that we need to do to make it through. Again, this is Felicia Dortch with Relationship Entertainment TV, bringing you the news you can use and the ish you don't want to miss. See you Thursday.